In the Saddle with Sheriff Richard K. Jones.
How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the Butler County Sheriff's fourth podcast, In the Saddle with Sheriff Jones. Basically what we try to do is we try to come up and speak to the people that we work for, and the people that's just not here in our community, it's all over the country. We have thousands and thousands of followers, and what we want to do is give you information. We talk about crime issues, we talk about how to prevent crime, we're going to have some cold cases we're going to have up here soon. So you want to pay attention and watch this, how to be safe. Today we're going to talk about, since it's that time of the year, we're going to talk about boating safety, water safety, how to keep yourself alive, and what to do and what not to do. Just so you know this, Ohio is ranked 7th in pool drownings. 58 people drowned in Ohio in pools in the last 3 years. 2021, 15 boating fatalities in Ohio. In the United States, you just figure it out. How it's in the hundreds all over the United States. But here in Ohio, we're looking at 15. And then if you look at drownings, it's the top 10 in deaths from birth to 24 years old. Only takes 20 to 60 seconds, isn't long, to drown. I want to repeat that. Only takes 20 to 60 seconds to drown. That's all. That's not long. And you got to pay attention. I really want to emphasize this because we have so many people that have been locked up and can't get out, and the pandemic, and people want to get out. Anywhere in the country where you're having festivals, you're having parades, people are tired, they want to get out, they want to have fun. And a lot of times what people do is they get around the water, they get in their boats, and then alcohol comes into play, drugs come into play, and people die in boating accidents and drowning. We have to go at the aftermath. So there's a lot going on you need to be aware of. You can still have fun. You don't have to get intoxicated to have fun. And you have to pay attention to where your kids are, and you have to have safety in mind when you do these things. So this is for you. You, the people that are out there having fun, but you can have fun, but do it safely. At this point, I'm going to introduce a guy that's worked at the Sheriff's Office over 20 years. How many years you got in?
23.
23 years. We call him the Gut, but his name is actually Deputy Mike Gutowski. And he is the expert for us in this county in Ohio, and we'd put him against anywhere in the United States. You've been deployed also, correct?
No, I haven't gone to like Louisiana when they had the flooding. I didn't get to go.
Okay, but you're deployed when we have drownings here in Butler County.
Yes.
And he's well trained, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike. You've got the show, and we're going to interact. These podcasts is where we talk to each other, we talk to you, and this is what a podcast is. It works quite well.
Yes.
You've got the show, my friend.
Well, I'm part of our Marine Patrol unit. We work from Memorial Day to Labor Day. On the weekends, we're always at Houston Woods, at Acton Lake, and we're at the Great Miami River. What we do is we check boaters for safety equipment. It's a free, voluntary boat inspection. They don't have to do it. If I ask somebody, do you want to do one? They say, no, I don't want to do it. You don't do it. It's voluntary. However, a lot of fishing tournaments make these people get a boat safety check done, so a lot of them end up, over the years, know us, and they see us and they say, they flag us down because they know they need to get it checked. For a lot of these people, it's the only time of year that they actually touch their safety equipment, that they find their life jackets, that they find distress signal stuff, that things that they're supposed to have and required to have by the state of Ohio.
Now, you guys went down on the Ohio River, was looking for a small child that was, I don't know if you were deployed to that. We took our sonar equipment down there.
We did that.
And that was, I can't remember how old the child was. I don't think they ever found him.
I believe that's the Lattimore
Yes.
child. I don't believe they ever found him.
Yep, there was 2 kids that were killed and threw in the river. It was really sad. Within a short period, the water was up. There was, I mean, everybody from different states, different organizations. We were part of the search for a brief time, and it's the stuff that we end up looking for. We look for, people think, well, what does the Marine Patrol do? We look for weapons. When people kill people, they throw weapons in the water, the knives, the guns. We even have an underwater drone that can go in the water like a little submarine and take pictures. The technology is unbelievable, but this is what we do. And the sad thing is, most of the time we do recoveries. Yes. We're looking for people that have already are deceased. We don't get to do a lot of rescues. I can remember one rescue we done when the water was up, and these people were in the water in their canoes. That makes sense. Hey, let's get in the water. The water's up at dangerous level, and let's get our canoes in the water. It'd be a lot of fun. The water moves very fast, and didn't end up well for them. They lived, but they got stranded on a piece of the river where there was a little piece of land, and we had to risk our lives to go out and try to rescue these idiots. I think I can say that word.
Sure.
And it made us all angry when you have to go out and risk your own life, when people do stupid things. And I'm telling you, this was stupid. And so when we were done, we cited them and charged them, which they should have been, because it endangered everybody's lives. When you go to these drowning or these emergencies, and when you're going in a rescue mode, and they've done it themselves, it really makes you angry when they do things like that. They get in the water, and then we have to rescue them. We have to risk our lives getting there, and you risk your lives going there in a high rate of speed with sirens and lights. It's the crazy world we live in, but it all can be prevented. It doesn't matter where you live. If you live in the South, if you live somewhere else, we went to Katrina. I went there, and it was the storm first came in, the storm surge came in, the waves came in, then the waves went out. It was destroyed. And water, wind is so dangerous and crazy. But you guys have went to the Ohio River, and our teams have also went to Katrina, and we're on standby quite often. We're on standby right now for another instance. I don't know if we're going to be deployed or not, but it involves flooding in another state. So you were talking about some of the things that we get deployed to and what you've done. Name some of the, when you say the equipment that they have to have, what is that equipment?
Well, for most boats that we deal with are about 16-foot bass boats, fishing boats. You have to have a title, a registration. If you're born after January 1st of 1982, you have to have a boater, an education card. It's basically, you have to have a driver's license for a car. You have to have a driver's license to drive a boat.
If you're born after 1982. 82. So I don't have to have a license in Ohio. I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good. I barely made it. Yeah, it was just a little before 1982 I was born, so I don't have to have a license.
But they're supposed to have a license. They have to have a life jacket for everybody in the boat, a throwable life jacket, seat cushion. Basically, you can throw it to somebody that's in the water. It's got handles they could hold on to. They're supposed to have a fire extinguisher, some type of sound-producing device. Most boats have a horn built into it, a whistle, an air horn, a distress flag. It's a little small flag that opens up. It's about 3 feet by 5 feet. It's orange with a circle in the middle, and you can wave it, and by law, you're required to help another boater. If you show me your distress flag or you're yelling, "I need help," I'm required by law to come and help you, tow you back to shore, do whatever I can. I can't just say, "Oh, I'm fishing, you're in trouble, I don't care." You have to help someone else out. You're supposed to have visual distress, a fire extinguisher, anchor and line. And it's amazing how many people, one, don't know where their safety gear is and don't bring stuff. We actually had on the 4th of July this year on the Great Miami, a husband, wife, I believe about a 5-year-old and a newborn baby in a little John boat that they said he hasn't had it out in 7 years. He wanted to see if it was running. Let's take it out on the river. Let's watch the fireworks. But when the other guys came up and saw it, they looked down. The baby was laying in the bottom of the boat, sleeping, with not a single life jacket in the boat.
Now, when you rent a boat, a lot of people go to these lakes and they rent boats. I assume all those things are in the boat.
Yeah, if you rent a boat, they should provide you with all the the essential safety equipment.
And if you should ask where this is,
Yes.
where the equipment is, where the life jackets are. But hey, people, it's up to you to ask these questions. And depending on what state you're in, people ask about when I went to Katrina and we sent our deputies there. You always see on TV these fires on the water. You're talking about fire extinguishers, and you wonder how can fire burn on the water? When you see these hurricanes and these big storms, it's the gas lines that break, and they, for some reason, they're on fire and they burn. But you always wonder why they continue to burn in the middle of a lake or in the middle of where the water has come in. The gas lines break, but the fire extinguishers. That's if you're going to be in the boats. You got to have boat safety. You got to have this equipment. Don't be that person. That's a hell of a story you just told.
We did, even around here, we've going out 127 several years ago, the whole river flooded. We had to take boats, walk out waist deep in water, go to people's houses, get them, put them in the boat, and then take them back up to the road because they were stranded. One guy had an A-frame house, and we were able to get into his house, and he was up on the top floor, just sitting there like,
Flash flood.
flash
right?
flood.
Yeah, be careful. These flash floods come up quick. Pay attention to your weather. They come up. You know they're coming up. And if you live on the water, people that live on the water are used to this. They know what they've got to do for safety. And I'll tell you while we're talking about water issues and the water coming up, when you're driving and you see a power line down, don't drive over the power line. I know that sounds silly, but people have a tendency to want to drive over that power line. Or if you can't see the depth of the water, it'll fool you sometime. And you get your car and you drive out and all of a sudden your motor quits, it's deeper than you think. Don't take that chance. Find another route.
It doesn't take much water to move a car. Water is much more powerful than people think. Well, I have a pickup truck. I can go through this. If the water's moving, it will pick up a truck and take it. Now you're in a ditch or you're downstream and you're in trouble, like you said earlier, with the canoers. Now I have to risk my life to come and get you. And that's what we've chose to do this. I will risk my life, but it's avoidable.
Pay attention. A lot of this is common sense. People are always in a hurry. They want to get out. The power lines are down. There's water. Be very cautious. If a power line falls on your vehicle, they always tell you, don't get out of your vehicle. Stay in the vehicle. Everybody has cell phones. Somebody will come and assist you. Don't go over and try to help somebody that's got a power line. Is that correct?
Yep.
You'll get killed yourself.
Yes.
They may be safe in the car, but you may not. There's so many things you got to be careful of. The best thing you can do is use that cell phone and call for help. Pay attention to what you do. Didn't mean to interrupt your story. Continue on. We were talking about the equipment you got to have on a boat when you rent it, and what are some of the safety tips for people that are on the water? As far as speed goes, we already talked about not drinking. If they see somebody in distress, you already talked about that.
Help them out. Like Houston Woods, a couple years ago, they changed their law. Houston Woods, you could have a 9.9 horsepower motor on that lake. Now they changed it. You can have any horsepower motor, but if you have above a 9.9, you have to go at idle speed. Basically, just engage the prop and don't create a wake. So it keeps the sailboats that are out there safe. And they've gotten a lot more boats have gone up to that lake now because everybody can enjoy it. It used to be if you were putting your boat back on the trailer and you turned on your bigger motor, that was a violation. Now they go up there, have fun, but just be respectful of other people. And I think that's the biggest thing with a lot of this is respect the other guys on the lake. You don't want to be staying on your boat fishing. Some guy comes by, full speed, big wave, and you potentially fall in. And with the problem that's another issue we have, is people go out there and when it's kind of cold out, and they want to wear pants, jeans and a hoodie and a t-shirt, and they're cold. And I get that. We did a survival swim class a couple years ago where I had clothes on, shirt, pants, boots, a bulletproof vest. We weighed ourselves. We jumped in the water for 10 minutes, weighed ourselves again. I weighed 40 extra pounds just of water weight.
Just the water weight.
Just the water alone.
You're looking at your weight, your water weight, your equipment weight. How much weight are you looking at total?
Probably there about 280 pounds. I swam in high school. I'm a pretty good swimmer. And it was physically the hardest class I've ever done because of how much water weight you had. So when you go out there, I understand you want to dress warm. You want to have on your hoodie, flannel, but you got to realize if you fall in that water, you're not a strong swimmer, you're probably going to sink. You fall out of a boat, how do you get back in it? What we do on our boat is we tied a rope from the back cleat to the front cleat, and it can dip down into the water. If you're not using it, you just leave it in the boat. But if you did fall in, you could take that rope, pull it down into the water, and now it gives you somewhere to put your foot on. And now you get a foothold. And as you kind of step to the side, it starts to bring you up out of the water, and now you can flop yourself into the boat.
So somebody falls out of the boat, and they've got this extra water weight, their clothes on. How can you get back in the boat?
That's one way we suggest. Or another way, if you can swim back to the back of your motor, hopefully the motor's not on because you're using a trolling motor, hopefully.
Yeah.
Most boats above the propeller, there's a fin. Stand on it, hit the trim button on the side of your boat, on the side of the motor, and it will lift the motor up out of the water. It lifts you up out of the water, and then you can kind of jump in or fall into the boat. But that's stuff that we try to explain to people when we do safety seminars of how would you get back in your boat. Most people don't think about it.
No, you see on TV where people fall in the water, they're in the water. And remember, everything you see on TV is these are people that are trained for this. They get on a side boat and they just pull themselves up. I don't know that I could pull myself up out of the water into the boat, period, without all that stuff on. I don't know if I could do it with swimming trunks on.
Most people don't realize in Ohio, I believe if a water is under 77 degrees, it's considered cold water. The amount of time you can sit in that cold water, it sucks your energy. I believe it's water will drop your weight 25 times faster than just air temperature, the air alone. So if you jump in the water and it's cold, it's gonna suck your core temperature down so fast. So you're kind of in a state of shock now because you're cold. Your muscles, you're tensing up. Now you got 40 extra pounds of weight. A lot of people have trouble getting in the boat.
I would imagine most people do, unless you're like 14 or 15 years old and you're young and you're energetic. Somebody that's out fishing or out skiing, they're used to being around the water, but they have life jackets on. Mm-hmm. And usually the ski boats have like a step at the back of the boat or something they can get into. But if you're out in a regular fishing boat
they don't have them.
Or I don't know if pontoons have them. I don't know. Pontoons are lower to the water, though, aren't they?
Most pontoon boats will have a ladder that they can climb back in, but like Houston Woods, you're not allowed to swim in the middle of the pond up there, the lake up there. You're only supposed to swim at the beach. And we actually had a lady, they rented a pontoon boat, they were out swimming, this girl jumped in, and then realized there's no ladder on this boat because Houston Woods doesn't rent a ladder with it because you're not supposed to be swimming in the middle of the lake. Two of our guys were up there, saw them, had to go over and get a ladder from the maintenance shop, stick it in the water, get her on there, pull it up, and rock her into the boat because she was just holding onto the side of the boat, struggling.
And temperature of the water. But see, people don't think about those things. It's unbelievable. Then if you throw alcohol on top of it, mm-hmm. In Ohio, what's the alcohol? What's the deal? What's the rules with alcohol on the boats?
It's very similar to a car. If you have an open container, it's an open container. You can get a DUI driving a boat because you're in control of that boat. We don't deal with it as much at Houston Woods because most of them are up there fishing, and it's not a ski lake. You can't go fast enough for people to ski. Brookville, Ohio River, they deal with that much, much more than we do. But you can get the same rules applied to a boat as it does to a car.
Okay, makes sense. Tell us about when some of the cases you've been on and when we've had to look for people that are victims of a drowning.
One of the very first ones I had on the west side of the county, two guys were in a pond. They've been drinking all day. Let's swim across the pond. They both jump in. One guy gets to the other side, turns around and looks. His buddy's nowhere he can't find him. He drowned. We had to drain almost half the water. They finally found him, but it was not a rescue. At that point, it recovered.
People think that what happens when people drown, that they float. And the way I understand it, you don't float, you sink. Is that correct?
There's a formula that we have. If you base how much how much does someone weigh, when was the last time you ate, what was the water temperature. Give it time. Eventually the gases in your body will build up and you will pop up. When the loader's kid died on the river, it took about 3 days and eventually he popped up. The other gentleman popped up about 3 days later. But at that point it's too late. It's not a
rescue. It's really sad.
We've done talks with people that if you own a pond on your property, people will maybe sneak on your property in the wintertime and want to fish or ice skate or play on the ice. One thing we recommend is put a 4x4 post next to the pond. Put on your address. Paint it on a board or something. So if I did come on your property and me and a friend and we fell in the water, we fell through the ice, and we call 911, well, where are you at? I don't know. I'm on a property. I'm in this guy's pond. You can say, well, according to this, it says I'm at, and give the location. Put a throw bag, put one of those ring buoys where you could throw it out to somebody. Less than $100, you could potentially save someone else's life. Did they need to be on your property? No. But could it help you liable in court if they try to sue you and say, hey, you drowned on my property?
Yeah, and it's the right thing to do. It makes sense. There's so many things about water safety, what you can do in the water. My thought is, and this is just, I don't have the stats in front of me, you probably do, that it always seems like little boys can't help themselves. Mm-hmm. They go down to the water, they'll chase snakes, they'll throw sticks in the water, tadpoles, frogs. Little girls don't go down to the water as much as little boys do. And we have to, sad to say, we have to go try to find more, it seems like, young males, young children, males that are playing around the water, and the females, the young girls, they don't chase snakes and frogs like that. But it seems like we have more drownings. Is that?
Every drowning that I've pulled the bodies out of have all been male.
All been males?
All been males. We had one outside of Trenton where a boy was trying to swim across a creek. Why he was in the water, I don't know, because we found out later he couldn't swim. But the undercurrent got him and took him underwater, and he got trapped in some tree branches, and he was a 15-year-old boy.
We were talking before we started filming this about everybody teaches people how to swim. If you don't know how to swim, I'm telling you, it's the classes are usually free. Your YMCA's, your Boys and Girls Clubs, they teach you how to swim. It's so important, and you need to learn how to swim and stay afloat in the water. Would you agree?
Yes. Our rule, our policy, your policy, if we're within 10 feet of the water, we have to have a life jacket on. No exception. Accidents happen. You slip, you fall. You slip, you fall, you hit your head on a rock, and you roll into the water. I have a life jacket on. I'm going to be okay. People let their kids go by the water without a life jacket. Don't watch them. Don't keep an eye on them. Kids drowning in pools. Put a fence around your pool. Put a gate. Lock the gate. Don't let your kids just go out and swim while you're inside on your phone or watching TV.
We've had deputies. People want to, they want the deputies or the police officers to jump in the water immediately. Before they can do that, they have to take their boots off. They have to take their vest off. Like you said, all this gear weighs how much?
My duty belt weighs 20 pounds.
Just the duty belt. That doesn't count your vest.
Or the boots or all the other stuff.
So you're looking at all this weight. You have to get all that off before you can even go in the water. There's been instances where police officers have fell in the water. One was jumping across a bridge, a space, chasing a suspect in Hamilton County in Cincinnati, Ohio, fell into the water and never had a chance because of the current. It was cold. It was in the wintertime, and it was springtime before they could find his body. Yep. Because you sink. Usually the person, when they drown, they find them within a certain area where they last seen them. Is that correct?
Yeah. Most people, when they drown, go straight down.
Straight down. It's because you fill up with the water, yep, and you go straight down. So when you're looking for these people, it's not a pretty thing when you pull people up, yep, and it's not pretty how you retrieve them. It's basically a grappling hook or like a sinker, yeah, and you pull it along the bottom till you get their clothes or you can find them. and it's unless they float up, it's the scenario and the temperature of the water, temperature of the air. So many days you can just about pick it, and they float up, then they float downstream. But most of the time they go straight down. That's why you put these little markers on the water when you get there. Where did they last see them? Because that's usually within that area. Am I correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, everyone that I've had to pull out of the water, I can still see their faces. People don't realize everybody I've pulled out, I can see their face, I can smell them. It's something that sticks with you, and it's a very, we have a hard enough job as it is, let alone having to pull bodies out that maybe didn't need to die.
Let me ask you the question. How many of you pulled out that had life jackets on?
Zero.
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 Remember that. These people, when they get in the water and they drown, not one of them had a life jacket on. So keep that in mind. And it doesn't always happen to the other person. You can slip, you can fall. There's so many things we could talk about. But what we're going to tell you today is remember safety around the water. Remember your kids around the pool, correct?
Yes.
And you just watch a split second and they're in the water. My son, when he's a little baby, not a baby, but he was a toddler, we were all watching, and he didn't have a life jacket on, and that was our bad, but he just walked in, jumped in the water, and everybody was busy watching something. My older brother, seen him, dove in. He was already down on the bottom of the pool, pulled him out, and we were all right there, never seen it. And remember, it takes 20 to 60 seconds, and that's it. And once they get in, they go to the bottom, they can't shout or scream, and that's people around, sitting around, they're having fun, they're grilling hamburgers, and your child is in the bottom of the pool. Yeah, happens more than people think.
It's not like in the movies where they're thrashing around and arms flaring. They're down and you don't hear anything. The water surface is calm and the kid's under the water.
And you can't see, and everybody's around the pool. And
it's got to be one of the worst feelings in the world to be drowning.
Yeah, it's just, and to be so small, it sends chills down my spine. Don't be that person. Learn from what we've told you today. Hopefully what Deputy Gutowski talked about, and with myself, we save somebody's life and somebody lives.
My biggest advice is if you have a question, if you're concerned, if you don't know, well, what should I do in this situation? Call us. We'll come out to your house. We'll talk to you. We'll do anything we can and give you the resources to keep your pond safe, to keep your pool safe, to check your boats for safety equipment. I would much rather come to your house and spend an hour talking to you, going over things, than to come out and have to pick up your child because they're dead.
It doesn't matter where you live, what state you live in, or what country. There's always somebody that can give you advice. Don't always go on the internet. Don't ever believe everything you see on the internet that is the truth. Call your local law enforcement. Call your wildlife people. There's always somebody that can give you good advice. Yes. Hey, good job, and I appreciate everybody staying tuned. We'll see you next time.
That's it.